Think about the scariest phone call you've ever had to make. Now think about being 14 years old and making that phone call. But the person on the other line is 911. My name is Kaylin Shepherd, and I'm going to talk about a day that I want to do over. I remember sitting in my room. It was really dark that night. All I could see was what my phone light would let me see. I had death on my mind. I had the thought of leaving, and I remember it being a typical school night for my family. Definitely wasn't typical for me. There was rambling downstairs, and my brothers were playing games, and my parents were watching TV. But I was alone, up in my room. I was distracted by pills and thoughts of darkness. I softly walked down the stairs, hoping no one would hear me slip into the bathroom. I turned on the sink and I went through the medicine cabinet, trying to make as little noise as I possibly could. Sorry. I remember the pill slipping down my throat, and then it hit me. I saw my mom's face, staring at me. I saw my dad, heartbroken, another family member, empty, soulless, but the body still lingering. That couldn't happen. My parents meant everything to me, more than what I wanted. They meant everything, more than my death wish. I quickly slid my fingers down my throat and put my bad decision into the toilet, and I ran upstairs. I had to say I need to be here for my parents, even if it's not what I wanted, which was the hardest thing, not being able to have what I wanted. I had to figure out what to do, because I knew I didn't want to die. I couldn't do it for them. I craved the end so much, but I couldn't have it. 911. I called 911. 911, what's your emergency? I couldn't believe it. It was actually happening. There was an operator on the other line. I tried to kill myself, and I might have hurt myself a little bit too. He sounded so calm. Do you mind telling me what you used? I told him I overdosed. He told me a dispatch was on the way to my house, and I started freaking out. A few other words slipped his mouth, but I couldn't focus on them. I was too busy listening for the sirens, and it was hitting me. It was hitting me so hard. My parents knew nothing, and now they would know everything. And then I heard it, the sound of the ambulance, bills rising, and the sound of harm coming to an end. I went downstairs, and I remember seeing my parents' face, confused. Why was an ambulance at their house? We were all fine. I was just upstairs, right? I came downstairs, and my mom just looked so confused by my tears because I was crying so hard. And she looked at me and she said, "Honey, what's wrong?" And I said, "I hurt myself, Mom." And my dad looked at me. He looked at my scars. Sorry. He said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Blood was falling down my arm, and my dad looked so mad at me for being who I was and for dealing with my sadness the way I dealt with it. That night took a really big turn. I got to the hospital, a lot happened. I lied, and I will never be able to get a do-over. All I wanted was a do-over. My parents paid for everything, the ambulance, therapy, medicine, and all I did was take it for granted because I was so focused on wanting a do-over after that night. I didn't want that night to have happened because I regretted everything. I focused for 3 years on a do-over. I focused on a do-over instead of focusing on myself and getting better. So I just want to tell you, if there's anything that you regret doing, you don't need to focus on what you did. You just need to focus on getting back out there and back to yourself, because that is more important than what you did. It's who you are now and what you're going to do. I had more, but I started to cry, so everything just left my mind. But I can't go back to that night, and I can't get the do-over that I want, and I will never be able to. But I can deal with it now. I can sit here and say, hey, that night happened, and I can focus on what tomorrow brings instead of what I did to my parents and what I did to myself and all the regrets I have, because I will never, ever be able to get that do-over. No matter what happens, it can be the slightest situation, it can be the biggest situation. A do-over won't fix anything, and having that do-over in your head won't fix anything either. Thinking about every detail, oh, maybe if I did this different, you know, maybe if I wasn't up in my room alone, everything would be different, you know, but I was so focused on that thought, it didn't help. So, basically, just focus on what you have now, not what you did. Don't focus on those regrets, because they'll haunt you more than you want them to. Even if you planned everything out and it goes the exact opposite way, it's totally okay. You're fine how you are. You're fine with your mistakes. You won't be able to get that do-over wake-up call, okay? That's all I have to say.